Hello everybody, today I want to talk to you a little bit about water. Water is one of those things that can be a little bit confusing sometimes, but is super important to how the game works. Water generates in all kinds of places. There's oceans, waterfalls, there's rivers, there's fountains, and wells. Unlike most things in Minecraft, there's no such thing as a water item. You can't pick up a block of water and move it. The only way to move water is to pick up water inside of a bucket, and then you can place it back down. In cold biomes, water that is exposed to sky will eventually turn into ice. You pick up ice, and then you put it back down, and then break it, it'll turn into water. So that's another way to move a water block. Ocean water is generally blue, but depending on the ocean biome, in cold oceans it can be a dark purpley blue, and in warmer oceans it can be more of a green blue. Water can also vary in color depending on the biome, everything from blue to green. Water is transparent, and of course light can pass through it, but you do lose one level of light for each block that the light passes through. The one place water never generates is in the nether. If you have a bucket of water and you place it down, it just evaporates. The only exception is a cauldron. You can put water in a cauldron. You can swim in water, which makes you only 1 block tall. Mining takes about 5 times longer when you're underwater. If you jump into water from a high place, it'll absorb all fall damage. And this is true no matter how high you fall, or how little water you fall into. So let's talk about some of the confusing stuff. When you place a block of water down, it will flow out in each direction 7 blocks. So here's where we put the water down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll notice that where we put the block down, that block is still, and every other block is flowing water. It has a current. And so if we throw something in that current, it will be swept away in that direction. This can be really handy in farms and things like that where you want to move items or mobs from one area to another. Now if I pick up that one source block, all of the water disappears. If I place water up in the air, it will flow down until it hits a surface, and then it will flow out in 7 blocks in each direction. This can be infinite. We could put a water block 100 blocks up in the air, and it will flow until it hits a surface, and then it will go out in 7 blocks in each direction. Again, if I take that one source block away, it will all go away. It's important to understand source blocks. The source block is the water itself, and from the water, it will flow infinitely in the vertical axis and 7 blocks horizontally. Now, if your surface isn't perfectly flat, we'll place down the source block. It'll flow 7 blocks in each direction. But if somewhere in that 7 blocks it dips down 1, which it can do infinitely, it will then flow another 7 blocks. Again, right here or anywhere along here, if I was to go down, which again it can do infinitely, it would then reset that 7 block spread. Again, this can be really useful for moving items over long distances. One other thing that's interesting, when water is first placed, it falls and then it spreads once it hits a surface. When water is initially falling, it does a little bit of pathfinding to determine if it has the option to flow down. If it does have the option to flow downward, it'll always take it. If it doesn't, it'll just spread out in the normal way. Normally, when you have water in a bucket and you set it down, you end up with an empty bucket, and then you can pick that water back up. This is essentially a source block right here that we are picking up and setting back down. Now, it is possible to create a source block. If you have a source block and then air and then another source block, these 2 source blocks will create another source block in between them. And you'll notice if I take this, these 2 source blocks go, oh, there's air here, let's create another source block. And so I can keep taking water from between these 2 source blocks, and they keep creating another one. This is really handy if you're building and you need lots of water. You can just set up something like this and have infinite water. Another way to do it is this configuration. If I place one here and place one here, There's air in between these two source blocks, and they create another source block. Another way to do it is in this configuration. You can see it all turned into source blocks. And so I can take from anywhere with this, and it'll keep filling with new source blocks. This is how, if ever you're building a large farm and you need lots of water, you just set down 2 source blocks with the air in between, and then you can take that block in between and repeat. Now we have source blocks all the way down. There's another important thing to understand with source blocks versus flowing water. So when I set down water, flowing water will wash away certain types of things. So grass, flowers, redstone, the flowing water just pushes them away. There's other blocks that water will just flow around. You can see here a solid block, a stair, a fence. The water is just flowing around them. Now, if you place a source block on one of these types of items, this item will become what they call waterlogged. So here you can see this fence is basically completely surrounded by water. I could also do that to the stairs. Now the stairs are waterlogged. There's no air gaps or anything like that. Instead of placing a source block on top of a block, you can also place a block inside of a source block. So here you can see I can put fences inside the water because these are all source blocks. Same thing with stairs. I can just put them here and there's no air gaps. Now those items that got washed away, they don't do so well. And see, if we try to place those down, they just get washed away. Similar thing with flowers. I can't even place buttons. They don't do very well. Other blocks can't be waterlogged. For example, a door. You can see it creates air blocks around it. Fence gate is another one that doesn't work. This is a really cool trick if you're underwater for long periods of time. You can pop into the air pocket and breathe. And this used to be how everything worked until they added waterlogged blocks. And basically these are just a block that exists inside of a water source block. Most blocks anymore can be waterlogged, but there are still a few exceptions. And that's it. You're a water expert now. If there's anything I talked about that didn't make sense or you have more questions, leave me a comment. I'm happy to discuss it further or try to clarify things for you guys. Please like and subscribe. I know everybody says this, but when you guys like and subscribe, it helps put it in front of other people who also might like it, and so it really, really helps me out. I hope you had fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.